Okay, I'm just gonna hop around like this because it is cold in here. That's dirt, so that means this is a groundbreaking. For those of you who walked in and walked around the corner, there's a big banner. And if you've been involved in this project for a long time, that you know that that banner's been up for a really long time. It says, "The future of the neighborhood starts here." At long last, the future of the neighborhood starts here. Applause line. A 116 years after this building opened. 116 years. We are on the precipice of just an amazing transformation of this space. Commissioner, can you, so just a little bit of, this is just recent history, back in the day when, I don't know what we were doing here, but trying to keep the thing still standing so that in, I think it was 2002 or 2003, Mayor Brown and then Recreation and Park General Manager Elizabeth Goldstein, and I'm not sure who was running MTA at the time, but Dan, who was running MTA at the time? Oh, it was Michael Burns. So we were able to transform, this property was given to the Recreation and Park Department, and boy, were we happy to get it, sort of.
Sort of. Emphasize sort of.
It's what I would call a fixer-upper, and it has taken the last 16 or 17 years of sweat and desire and push and pull and push and pull and leadership, which you're going to hear from today, and community leadership to get to where we are today. This really genuinely is the little project that could. And so here we are. It's just a joyous, joyous moment. Mark Buell, who's not here today, here's our mayor, but I meant to go over here to our commissioner. Mark Buell is the president of the Rec and Park Commission, likes to say victory has many parents, or it takes a village. This takes an entire city to pull this project off. And there are so many people to acknowledge and thank. And I'm going to start doing that, and then I'm going to turn the microphone over to our mayor. And there are a lot of people that have had some skin in the game here. So let me just read off the beginning of a list. Obviously, let's start with the late Mayor Ed Lee, who was here for our state announcing last summer. Our current mayor, Mark Farrell, who's been a parks champion from the get-go and has helped make stuff like happen. Representing Assemblyman Phil Ting, we have Alex Walker here today. Phil is Parks MVP of 2017 because he delivered a total of about, I think, $6.5 million of state funding, including $3.5 million for this project. Our Recreation and Park Vice President Alan Lowe, who's given this project all kinds of leadership at City Hall. We have representatives from the Performing Arts Workshop here today, the Community Arts Stabilization Trust, and you're going to hear from them in a second. Where's Todd Rufo, OEWD, Joaquin Torres and Amy Cohen, thank you, thank you, thank you. Equity Community Builders, who did the New Market Tax Credit Financing and the Historic Preservation Tax Credit Financing. By the way, officially the most complicated project in Recreation and Park Department history. It makes the Beach LA soccer field seem like a cakewalk. The San Francisco Community Investment Fund, the SF, the SCIF as we call it, Todd wearing two hats there. For the New Market Tax Credit Financing, and also Equity Community Builders who helped with that. Aileen Darling Design, former District 11 Supervisor John Avalos. Let's give him a round of applause for his leadership. Our current District 11 Supervisor Asha Safai. Thank you, Asha. The head of our Arts Commission, Tom DeCaney. The Department of Public Works, Roebuck Construction, and a big shout out, and I don't know if she's here, but our city attorney, man, she earned whatever she billed to this project, which was a lot. Yadira Taylor. And two special people that I want to take an extra second to thank. And there's a lot of other names that I'm going to come back and fill in over time. But I really want to thank two members of my own team, Reem Asaf. Where's Reem? Right there. Thank you, Reem. And then Nicole. Come here. Step up. This woman right here. She started this project. Where's Dan? Dan Weaver, as working for Dan and the Friends of the Geneva Car Barn as its first executive director. I stole her, which made you guys very upset. But you know, sometimes you can bang on the door from the outside, and it takes somebody with Nicole's talent and chutzpah to make it happen from the inside. This project does not happen without Nicole Averill. All right. More thank yous to come, but let me turn over the microphone. The guy behind me over here has been all over the city. Parks. Yeah, there's some other stuff to do, but all he really cares about is parks. Mayor Mark Farrell.
Thank you, Phil. So, look, I think Phil took care of all of the thank yous. But first of all, let's give a big round for Phil Ginsburg, our general manager. Thank you, Phil. And to the rest, point out some individuals, to the entire Rec and Park staff and the commission, thank you all for all the work that you've done on this project. To Assembly Member Phil Ting, with the funding last year at the state level, I know we're here today in large part because of his efforts. And I want to thank Supervisor Asha Safai for his leadership. This is an issue he talked about when he was running for office. He knew, we've talked about it at the Board of Supervisors, something I know very near and dear to his heart, and he's such an amazing advocate for the neighborhood. And I just want to say, it was about 5-6 years ago that as a District 2 supervisor, Dan Weaver came to our office enough that we came here and we went on a tour of this place a number of years ago. And so this has been an issue and a project that, because of the advocacy of so many of you, has been at the forefront of so many people's minds for years. And I'm just curious, we said all those round of applause. Who here's a neighbor, by the way? Who here's resident? That is amazing. Give yourselves a round of applause. This really feels like a community project and something that is grassroots, built from the neighborhood with a lot of support, obviously. But to CAST and all the people that are making this work, I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done to get us to where we are here today. I'm a little curious what's buried underneath this ground, but I guess we won't talk about it. Looks suspicious to me. But excited to be here, and this is phase one, right? So our advocacy does not stop in terms of this entire project. But thank you all for all the work that you've done, for the leadership behind me, but really for the neighbors, and continuing to make sure that everybody knew this was a priority for you, and really what this will do for the neighborhood here for years and generations to come is incredibly exciting. So proud to be here today. Thank you, everyone.
So before I bring up our next speaker, I also want to give a big shout out to Beth Rubenstein, who's here, who has supported this project wearing a variety of hats. Thank you, Beth. All right. So this project has benefited from the great leadership of two District 11 supervisors, but I am very, very proud to bring up the current District 11 supervisor, whom frankly we could not have asked for more from. He's helped power up our Balboa Park pool. He secured funding to build a new dog play area in Balboa Park. He just joined us last week at the opening of the new Geneva Community Garden right down the street, which is just amazing. He participated in the planning and design conversation to make Alice Chalmers Playground even better. He was there to celebrate with us the opening of the Manziel Corridor Improvement Project and the new McLaren Bike Project. This guy really fights for District 11 communities, and he fights for parks and for healthier green space. Ladies and gentlemen, Supervisor Asha Safai.
Yeah, dude.
All right. I'm going to take a minute to just give a little bit of history. When I first was involved in this project, it went back to the Geneva Car Barn, and that's what we called it at the time, with Mary and Al Harris, Dan Weaver, some of the folks, and we met over at Lick Wilmerding for hours and hours and hours. And every time we'd have an opportunity, and Steve Currier, and every time we'd have an opportunity, and Sharon Eberhardt, and I know I'm going to probably forget someone, and Linda DeVero, and Joelle, and Linda Lighthizer, who wasn't Lighthizer back then, right? Linda Hart. So we would call Amy Cohen for advice, and she would come in and out of this project and say, you don't want to get involved. No, you do want to get involved. You don't want to get involved. But guess what? Every opportunity Dan Weaver had, no matter who was in the mayor's office and no matter who the general manager was, he said, I want to bring folks down to the car barn, and we have to do a tour. And we have this amazing asset and resource in our community. It's one of only 2 historic buildings in our district, Balboa High School and the car barn. And because of the tenacity of that man and all the people that I've named and other folks in this community, we're standing here now with Phase 1 fully funded. Let's give it up for Phase 1. And then we had an angel investor from the State Assembly who knows his Assembly district very well. And as he said, he was the Parks champion of 2017, and that was Assemblyman Phil Ting, who came in with like $3 million. And our former supervisor, who was able to go through the outside of the budget process and push really hard and got the attention of his colleagues on the board, and with the tenacity of Beth Rubenstein, and we got an ad back for this. So take the ad back, take the advocacy of Dan Weaver, Assemblyman Phil Ting, and then the leadership of our wonderful Parks and Recs General Manager, Phil Ginsburg. And Phil pulled it all together, and I can tell you, my first week in office, I was standing there, and I met Tom DeCaney, and he said, the people that you need that's going to help bring this project to whole and bring it to fruition is CAST. And I was like, what do you mean? What's CAST? I've never even heard of it. What's CAST? There you are, Tom. And we engaged them. Phil is not exaggerating. The amount of time and effort and energy with the tax credit and the new market tax credits and the historic tax credits, and all that to be said is the financing and the layers that go into this project are tremendous. So Reem and Nicole and Phil Ginsburg, and he took this on as a baby, one of his projects. That he has a lot of children, but he was not going to let this go until we got it done. And the wonderful city attorney named Yadira Taylor, and all of them got together and were able to bring this to fruition. Now, CAST is charged with helping lead the effort for Phase 2. So we're really excited about having them involved. We're really honored to have Moy and Steve Oliver and their entire team. And then at the end, what it boils down to is this is not just a building. This is a place where we believe it will be the premier performing arts facility in the entire city and county of San Francisco. So Performing Arts Workshop is going to work with all of the different people in the arts community, and I want to recognize a special guest, David Stowe from the Conservatory of Music. He's standing in the back. They have committed to be an initial partner here working with the Performing Arts Workshop, and that is also as a result of Reverend Amos Brown's leadership. So David, give a wave back there. Thank you for coming out today. Conservatory of Music is going to be a big part of this, along with Performing Arts Workshop. So we're so honored, we're so blessed, and we're so happy that District 11 is no longer treated like the forgotten part of San Francisco, but is a rising tiger in the city. Thank you very much. And thank you to our mayor for fully supporting us.
All right, a couple of other quick shout-outs as I see people in the room that really warrant recognition. I mentioned Equity Community Builders. I see John Clausen sitting quietly in the back. He's the genius of the new market tax credits. Oh, okay, wait. And then John's pointing at his colleague, Kim Nash. Is that Kim? John and Kim, thank you very, 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 very much. Asha, Supervisor Sefai, you used the word, I think, tenacious, which you actually took my line to talk about, to describe Dan. I'm going to describe another tenacious, and that is Amy Cohen, who helped make this project happen. And then I got to introduce Reem and Nicole of my team, but I see Kara Rupert and Toksajike, who help run our capital program that is responsible for building all these amazing parks. All right, we talked about Assemblyman Ting, who couldn't be here today, as Parks MVP of 2017. So accepting the MVP award on behalf of Assemblyman Ting is his aide, Alex Walker.
Thank you, Phil. Good morning, everyone. It's great seeing so many friends and neighbors here today. My name is Alex Walker, here on behalf of Assembly Member Phil Ting, who sends his regrets he couldn't be here today. And I want to say myself personally, I've been a neighbor of this project in Mission Terrace, a 10-minute walk away. I've been a neighbor here for 7.5 years, and it makes me so proud and happy to see this coming to fruition. And while I'm up here, I want to recognize a few more people in the crowd. I know we've had a lot of people to thank, because this really has been so many people have had their hands on this project, but I want to recognize some of our surrounding community leaders who are here today. I see the legendary Al and Mary Harris are here from the OMI, and thinking about all of the children and people who this is going to serve from the OMI. I see Joel Keenely from the Outer Mission Merchants and Residents Association, that their residents are going to be coming to use this. I see Mel Flores from the Excelsior District Improvement Association. All people from the Excelsior are going to be able to use this. And, you know, we are also going to be seeing across the street 100% affordable housing built by Mission Housing, so all the people can use this across the street. So it's great to see a transit hub building here to be able to use this. And so, as was mentioned earlier, Assemblymember Ting was proud to get $3.5 million in last year's state budget to make this first phase happen, help jumpstart it. It's part of $6.5 million for park and rec projects that are going to serve our western and southern neighborhoods, our ally neighborhoods of the city, and that's so important. So, on his behalf, I just want to say thank you, and I'll give one more shout out while I'm up here. I see Genesis Garcia is here from Assemblymember David Chu's office, and a connection with David Chu's office, I have to give a shout out to Judson True, who's his chief of staff currently, but used to work for Supervisor Sandoval, Gerardo Sandoval, and it goes all the way back to whenever we had Gerardo Sandoval as our supervisor, and even before then. So it's so great to see years and years of work by Dan Weaver, by so many people come to fruition, and we were so proud in the state budget to get a little bit of money to help get things kickstarted. So happy to see this process moving forward. So thank you all for having me. Thank you, Phil. Thanks to the commission. Thanks to the supervisor and the mayor. So glad to be here today, and can't wait to see this first phase when it opens up. Thank you all.
Thank you, Alex. All right, a couple more celebrity shout outs. From the design here is really what takes your breath away. And so from Adlin Darling Design, we have Josh Adlin and Rosalind Cole here. Can you guys raise your hands? Thank you, Josh. And by the way, the design, much of it was actually an in-kind contribution to the project, which makes it even more special. So thank you, Josh, for your support. And also, Alex mentioned Mission Housing going across the street. I think Sam Moss is here. Where's Sam? Sam's not here. Never mind that. I was told Sam was here. All right, moving right along. So I have lots and lots and lots of bosses. Last count, about 890,000 of them. But within that, I have this boss, and then I have 7 bosses on the Recreation and Park Commission. I also have 11 bosses on the Board of Supervisors, and again, lots of others. But it is really a pleasure to be able to work with the Rec and Park Commission. They are, the people's voice, and that's a really important thing in parks. But there is very much of a kind of a shared mission of trying to steward what is the best park system in the United States of America. And it is a great joy to be able to work with the Vice President of the Commission, who blocks and cheers for parks like the best of them. My pleasure to bring up Alan Lowe.
Thanks, Phil. I just wanted to tell you that this morning I was sitting on my kitchen room table trying to think of something inspirational, motivational about patience and waiting. And I just said, screw it, let's just build it. And speaking of patience and waiting, I really want to acknowledge Dan Weaver and the Friends of the Geneva Car Barn. That was a long community advocacy. It's gone longer than my marriage, and it's probably louder than my wife. Anyway, I'm glad to have this happen. I do want to acknowledge all the civic leaders, in particular the late Mayor Ed Lee, who really wanted to put this into execution, and the mayor's office and their staff. Joaquin Torres, when I first joined the commission, told me about the Geneva Car Barn, and I just said, I don't even know where that is. But thank you to the mayor's staff. I also want to thank Equity Community Builders, all the tax credit investors, Pause Cast for the funding to make this possible. But a big shout out to our department staff who really pulled this together, and our general manager, and explained to us and held our hand and explained to us what a quality B is. It's an inside tax credit investor joke. But thank you. And at Reckham Park, we have this saying, let's get out and play. When this opens up, I think we're going to have to change that, Phil, to go to the Powerhouse and create. Thank you.
All right. So the city folks have done their thing. Now we're going to transition to community past, present, and future. So I'm first going to bring up, the chief pit bull on the project, tenacious. But Dan, it is truly an honor, given the length of the journey, to be able to invite you up here to speak today. You all know him, ladies and gentlemen, Dan Weaver.
Thanks, everybody. I'm just the face of a board that's been, from the beginning, together with us, and we've been working, and we've been moving, we've been dealing with whatever happens. By order of arrival here, Al Harris. If I say your name, would you raise your hand if you're back there still? I'm sure you are. Alex Mullaney. Over here. Neil Ballard. Tom Radulovich. Over here. Mel Flores. Here again. Sharon Eberhardt. Over here. I'd also like to acknowledge two of our former board members, one of whom has moved on, or both of whom have moved on. Steve Currier and Supervisor Safai was on our board. And one more acknowledgement here before I say a few words about the history of the project. Mary Harris at the District 11 Council was always ready and always advocating for this project. Even when I wasn't there, she was working on it, lots of times. Thank you, Mary. Let me go back to the beginning of how this all happened. One more person. Christy Godinez from Lake Wilmerding High School, who took over from when Al Adams left the school and has been carrying on and as well as he was carrying on in the beginning. They provide us with all kinds of meeting rooms and classrooms and offices over the years. That's a great contribution to organization trying to put together a space. Let me go back to, actually, this sign is historic. It was put together by Muni in in the year after they stopped trying to demolish the buildings. In 1989, to be exact, this complex was red tagged after Loma Prieta, and Muni pursued a 10-year process which resulted in an EIR saying if there's bricks that might fall from this brick structure, and therefore someone might get hurt, so the buildings have to be demolished. We persuaded them, or explained to them at Historic Preservation Advisory Committee that we could repair the bricks, and the building wouldn't fall apart, and it wouldn't hurt anybody, and we could use it for a community center. It took until January of 1999 when Mayor Willie Brown issued an order to Muni to stop their efforts and work with us to fix the building. In 2001, this being San Francisco, Muni proposed and carried out a neighborhood celebration for the 100th anniversary of the Geneva Car Barn. So in 2002, the nonprofit Friends of the Geneva office building in Powerhouse was formed. In 2003, we partnered with Rec Park informally because Rec Park didn't own the building then. We worked with the two agencies a little bit, and Muni readily agreed to give it up for $1. So it was a bargain.
It was a bargain.
There you are, yes, it was a bargain. In 2004, we started working on the project. The thing that happened then is the office building over there was stabilized, which has, with a new roof. This one wasn't stabilized at the time. It didn't need a new roof, but now it does.
Which is why we want to move the program.
Okay, yes. Yes, that's true. The 2012 Parks Bond was a perfect opportunity to get this thing funded. It didn't happen because of the bureaucratic situation our organization was in. We couldn't participate in it. So that opportunity went away. 2015, the Arts Commission and OEWD jumped in again to try to move this project forward. The proposal was to do it in phases. This is phase one. We are celebrating the groundbreaking of the beginning, or the phase one effort. I want to thank, I want to acknowledge Mary Murphy from Gibson Dunn, Godfrey Q, who provided advertising services, including the banners on the building, and architecture services by Aidan Darling Design, who you've already met.
Okay, we gotta wrap it up.
Okay. Finally, the message of this message is phase one, great as it is, provides only 3,000 square feet in one room. We also need phase two, which is that side over there, which has 17,000 square feet, many rooms and spaces of different sizes to multiply the number of events and activities we can have here at one time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to keep moving. But one brief correction, this project actually does have $3 million in 2012 Clean and Safe Neighborhood Park Fund money. So lots of funding from lots of different sources. So we're very proud of that. All right, now let's turn to the future. We've talked about the past. Let's talk about the future. And I'd like to bring up my dear colleague, Tom DeCaney from the Arts Commission to introduce both CAST and the Performing Arts Workshop to talk about what comes next. Tom.
Thank you, Phil. It's so exciting to be here this morning. I have the privilege of having been a part of the last 6 years of this project, and as a neighbor, I can't thank my community neighbors enough for this fight over the years to make this a reality. I know we have plenty of work ahead to build this out and to build phase 2, but I'm committed as a partner at the Arts Commission to making that happen. This is a neighborhood with one of the highest density of children, youth, and families in all of San Francisco. It's also a neighborhood that lacks a cultural facility like many of our other neighborhoods in San Francisco, so it is overdue that we finally have a premier cultural center in District 11. And it's such an, yes. And it's exciting because it's not just this facility that is happening. We are also about to break ground on the Onondaga Arts Center with our partners ArtSpan. And we continue to work with incredible partners like Youth Art Exchange, ArtSpan, Performing Arts Workshop, and all the arts and culture organizations that service and work in District 11. It's also the home to a large and growing number of artists, as it's one of the last remaining affordable neighborhoods. So I'm committed to making sure we also create pathways for artists to live and continue to live in District 11. So, before I get to introduce our two amazing arts partners, I also want to say one of the exciting parts of this project is that the city's 2% for Art Enrichment Ordinance does include a public art project as part of the build-out, and I'm thrilled to say that we have 3 incredible finalists that we are going to ask all of you to weigh in on. They include Hank Willis Thomas, Allison Pebworth, and a team, Hewen and Starkweather, who are going to be putting together some incredible proposals for a public art component here in the building. So we look forward to sharing those with all of you and getting your input. So with that, I am so thrilled today to introduce our partners at the Community Arts Stabilization Trust. We were recently just hosting the Deputy Mayor of London and some colleagues from London who are here to host a summit this November. And one of the things that they have been so excited about in San Francisco is the Community Arts Stabilization Trust, otherwise known as CAST. CAST was founded through a seed grant from the Kenneth Rainin Foundation and from our work with the Office of Economic and Workforce Development and the Northern California Community Loan Fund as a holding company for arts and culture real estate. They've helped save a number of arts organizations in San Francisco and have been critical partners in leading the way to making sure the arts remain a critical part of San Francisco. I'm sad that Moy Yang, their executive director, can't be here this morning. She's not feeling well. But I am so honored to introduce Sunitha Vengala, who is their director of real estate and partnerships. And so I'd like to welcome her up to say a few words about the project.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, everyone, friends, and longtime supporters of the Geneva Car Barn project. I am so excited to represent CAST here as the Director of Real Estate and Partnerships. And on behalf of our Executive Director, Moy Ng, our staff, and our Board of Directors, we are so honored to be a part of this long-coming project, and we're excited to be a part of the activation of the Geneva Car Barn and Powerhouse. Today is an important day, and we're here to celebrate the groundbreaking. And let's give it up for the City of San Francisco, the Rec and Parks Department, and the wonderful members of District 11 for whom this building is going to really be an instrumental part of the neighborhood. Just to share a bit about CAST's work, we're a nonprofit in the business of cultural placekeeping through acquiring, holding, and managing below market rate space for keeping arts and culture here in San Francisco. And we've done so through the support of a cohort of visionaries, generous funders such as the Kenneth Rainin Foundation, and successfully completed our first 2 projects with Luggage Store Gallery and Counterpulse, stabilizing 2 nonprofit contemporary cultural centers in the Central Market and Tenderloin neighborhoods of San Francisco. And we can't wait to do more. We're excited to do so through the rehabilitation and activation of this space, a culturally rich and historic asset that we've all known has been vacant for a very long time. Our role is modest at CAST. We've entered into a long-term lease with the city's Rec and Parks Department, and we're looking forward to participating in the redevelopment and long-term operations of the space. As Phil and a number of others have already mentioned, we join the chorus of leaders in expressing our gratitude for the incredible support of the key constituents in this project. And we are fortunate to be working closely with Performing Arts Workshop, a nonprofit organization that has an over 50-year history of providing youth-oriented arts education programming. And we're excited to have them be the anchor tenant of this space and look forward to their reactivation of the building. In closing, I just want to say how proud CAST is to share this moment with all of you, and we are eagerly anticipating the reopening of the Geneva Car Barn and Powerhouse for arts, culture, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunitha. So next, it's my proud honor to introduce Emily Garvey, the Executive Director of Performing Arts Workshop. For those of you that don't know, I had the honor of serving as Executive Director of Performing Arts Workshop for 9 years, and I see my other predecessor, Jessica Mille, who's another District 11 neighbor here, who is now a program officer with the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, which has been a longtime funder of Performing Arts Workshop, I believe this project, as well as a number of other CAST projects. So please welcome up Emily Garvey.
Thank you, everyone. I want to say, first of all, as a tall lady, there we go. What an unbelievable honor it is to be taking the baton along with CAST in this final lap of the marathon that the renovation of the Powerhouse and Car Barn has been. When I walk into this space with folks, which I've done a lot over the last 11 months, everyone's breath is taken away instantly, and they comment on the light. And I say, yeah, I know, but can you even imagine what it's gonna be like when these windows are done? There's gonna be like 3 times as much light in here. And it truly is going to be a spectacular space. But honestly, that is not gonna hold a candle to how bright and alive this place is gonna feel when it is renovated and it is filled with community members and children. The light and power that is generated by our youth engaged in the arts is going to radiate past these gorgeously renovated walls out into the community, and as Supervisor Safai said, draw the community, District 11 community and beyond in San Francisco into this space and into District 11. And we are so unbelievably honored to be a part of that process. When the Powerhouse programming is in full swing, we look forward to working with an additional 2,400 community members and youth a year. We will be activating this space constantly. There will be young childhood programming in the space during the day, after school programming. We'll be working with a variety of community partners, which has been talked about today, really acting as a convener for the assets that exist in the community and in San Francisco to run adult programming, family arts programming, activate this space as a performance venue. It's going to be a rich and vibrant and constantly used facility. Currently, Performing Arts Workshop works with 4,200 kids a year in around 90 spaces around San Francisco, public schools, preschools, after-school centers, juvenile hall, and transitional housing for homeless families. And we are so excited to be coming to District 11 to put down deep roots in this community that we've been actually working in for over 40 years. We're really, really thrilled about that. It's so fitting that the doors are wide open today. When we come into this space, usually we walk in through the back door at the back, and it's just incredible to see that open door there. And it is metaphoric in that when we are here as residents of the Geneva Powerhouse, there will always be an open door. We are so excited to be a bigger part of the District 11 community and to fill this space with arts and culture and the incredible energy of young people. Thank you.
So Mayor Lee used to say, I'll keep it short, because I am. It's too late for that, but Emily, I'm going to put the microphone back. All right, so here we are. I'd ask everybody to come up and grab the group assembled here, and frankly, anybody else who wants to feel a part of this, you're all welcome. Grab a piece of the shovel. We're going to turn some dirt, and then we are going to welcome you all back in early 2019 to the Geneva Car Barn and Powerhouse. Thank you, everybody. Mr. Mayor? All right, 3, 2,